Today's episode is brought to you by Forvis Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. How often do you plan for the next day, the next week, or even the next month? Or do you not plan anything at all? Perhaps you're too busy to plan, or maybe too busy because you don't plan. Andrew May is a performance coach and CEO of Strive Stronger. He's worked with major sporting teams, including the Australian men's cricket team, and he's currently the mental skills coach for the NRL's Manly Sea Eagles. He says planning is crucial for getting the most out of yourself and your team. First, Chris Ashmore asks Andrew why it seems that some people struggle to find enough time in the day, while others are able to get things done and find time for themselves.
When we wake up on a Monday morning, which is when most people start their week, we are given a gift, and that gift is 168 units. Each unit is 1 hour. There's 168 hours in a week. The people that do get a lot done, they're on purpose, on message, connected, I think it's how they protect time. And it's the barriers they put up. So when you are working, you're focused and doing deep work, not all the time, but a lot of the time. When you're with friends and family and loved ones, you're really with them. You're not scrolling social media or looking around for something else. And you also know the value in recharging, reconnecting and pulsing. So you've got this beautiful oscillation between high periods of stress and recovery, working hard and just being. So I don't think you can have more time. You protect time and focus on what really matters.
To me, it seems that those who are successful, whether they're professionally, emotionally, personally, they've got their act together and everything seems, well, maybe on the outside easy for them. But why is that, do you think?
Maybe not easy, but they're in a flow, or they've got this momentum going as well. I look at it from an energy point of view. So I say to people, don't manage time, protect time, but absolutely turbocharge your energy. And when you ramp up energy, it just means you get a lot more done in less time. So when you're working to your energy levels, the research shows you can get 30% more done. So if you're good energy of a morning and you do your high-end thinking task or your decision-making first thing in the morning, you'll be much more efficient. If you're an afternoon person, do it of an afternoon. So that's around working smarter around those energy levels. And then a lot of us as well think we get energy in a can from a drink or from a cup of coffee. But the best source of energy you can get is actually moving your body and waking it up. So bringing some movement into the day. And it's counterintuitive to a lot of productivity programs, do more, do this, do that. But I'll always get people to start with protect time, turn off pop-up alert. Don't always have your email going off. Don't always have your buzzers and your bings going off as well. Think about how much do you need to be connected to the grid. And I'm not saying, go back to the old days where you're not connected at all. The world is a very different place and there's wonderful benefits. But just, again, get that pulse, and even a pulse between deep work where you're not getting distracted, and then times where you're sifting across the information. You've got multiple channels and inputs coming in with social and email and everything else. It's this beautiful pulse or this beautiful rhythm, high intense burst of work and periods of recovery. Really, all of our life, fitness should be like that. Train hard a few times a week and the rest of the time just walk and move and recover.
You mentioned that planning, of course, is important, but there needs to be some flexibility when it comes to planning, because to accommodate the inevitable interruptions or crises that pop along, would that be fair to say, to have that flexibility?
Yeah. I'm going to talk about Sister Thelma. Did you go to a Catholic school?
No.
So for any of your listeners who went to a Catholic school, back in my day, you had to put a 5 centimetre margin on your sheet of paper, and you're thinking, where on earth is he going on this? So back in Glen Innes in year 2, Sister Thelma used to whip our fingers. She used to cane us. You are not allowed to do this now, ladies and gentlemen. But if we didn't have a 5 centimetre margin, she would whack us across the fingers. So there was really strong goal alignment to have a 5 centimetre margin. And then if I wrote today's a beautiful day, and if I'd written B-O-O-T, like beautiful, Sister Thelma would have, with a red pen in the 5 centimetre margin, written beautiful, B-E-A-U-T-I-F-U. God, that cranky old so-and-so taught me a beautiful lesson about building some margin into my day, the 5 centimetre rule. So you've actually got some space to autocorrect. And what so many people do in their diary is they think success is having back-to-back meetings and filling it up in this monochrome sea of grey. So part of success for me in my diary, Chris, and part of with the CEOs I work with, and I work with 4 CEOs in top 30 ASX companies and founders and military and athletes, a whole eclectic range of people. And I teach all of them to build in some margin. So that means in your diary, you might need to even put in a blank meeting. I did this at KPMG. I met with one of our leaders every Friday for 3 hours. I never met with him. He knew I had him in there. But when they saw his name, he's a big dog, no one would try and stamp over another meeting. So building in some space or buffer is essential, because if you've got back-to-back meetings and then a task comes in, a request comes in, something happens, you just have no margin.
Should business owners or leaders have someone else plan their week?
I think leaders need to, first of all, take ownership of what a great day or a great week looks like for them. If they do have support staff or dedicated EA, then empower your EA. Then your team can do it for you. But it really comes down to you've got to get your hands dirty, roll up the sleeves and clarify what is a great day for you, and then communicate that to others. Because there's just so much inefficiency in organisations with that distraction. And just closing out the second way, this is an activity that everyone can do. There's 4 or 5 tricks. I hesitate to use the word hacks because you hear about all these Americans, hey, what's the hack for this? Go out and drink all weekend, take other stuff, eat shit, don't exercise, and here's the hack to live 100 years. It doesn't happen. You've got to have healthy, sustainable habits. So here are 5 tips to fire you up every single morning. And this is all about energy. So the first thing I want everyone to do is to move for 20 or 30 minutes. And even if you don't love exercise, you probably did when you were a kid, you just have fallen out of love with it. So it's not high-intensity exercise. Walk for 20 to 30 minutes to wake the body up. 2, get sunlight, which really wakes up your body and all the chemical pathways. And if it's a bright sunny day, 10 minutes of sun exposure. If it's a cloudy day, get around 30 minutes of sun exposure. 3, and anyone who's from the Mediterranean will hang up on this, but it's push your caffeine intake back 90 minutes. Because when you move and wake up your mitochondria, and when you get the sunshine to wake up all those neurochemicals, you don't need the caffeine to get you out of that morning slug. And then 4, cold shower. Have you got into the cold showers? We've spoken of it over the years. Have you gone down that path?
I live in one of the coldest places in the country, and the last thing I want to do is be even colder, Andrew. So no, I haven't.
So in Victoria in winter, I'll let you get away with it. But in the summer months, it's great. At the end of your shower, just go cold for a minute. And what it does to your mitochondria, well, it just wakes you up. And even you don't need the science around that. You just feel all tingly and buzzy and alert. So there are 4 things people can do. And I'd say the 5th one is the night before, practice good recovery mechanics. Get off your mobile phone, off the TV, off technology, 30 minutes before you go to bed, and then your body will shut down. So think down-regulate at night and up-regulate and get everything going first thing in the morning.
Fantastic. Before we go, last question, Andrew. You kind of touched upon it, but how do you plan your day? And what does your typical day look like?
My typical day is all over the place. So this afternoon, I've done a whole bunch of podcasts back to back. I was with Manly Sea Eagles this morning. Yesterday, I was in Melbourne presenting a course. Monday, I was here with the leadership program. So each day is different. So it is varied. But in a week, there's a matrix. So in an ideal week, Chris, I would do 5 or 6 sales meetings, 1 or 2 high-end delivery keynotes or workshops. I do 3 coaching sessions, record 1 podcast for my podcast, and then have a whole bunch of time to think. But the biggest thing I do, and I learned this from sport, because any sport I've ever worked with as a strength and conditioning coach, or now my iteration as a mental skills coach, you don't go out and just start playing tennis or start swimming laps or running around the track or kicking through the goals without a warm-up. So why should we do the same at work? At the start of every day, I spend 5 or 10 minutes, and it's my coffee. At least 90 minutes after I've woken up, I've got to follow those principles because they work. And I'll sit down and I'll just look at what meetings do I have today, and I'll play out in my head, what does success look like, or what do I want to get out of that meeting? So you're there before you're there. Now, if you don't do this, you rock into work tired, you haven't woken up how upset, you're late, and then you just find you are absolutely fatigued by the end of the day because you're running on adrenaline and cortisol. So it's a 5 or 10 minute start of every day, and I look at what are the meetings I've got, what are the ones that are really big performance moments, and what are the ones that I can sort of just turn up to. And with those big performance moments, I'll make sure I have at least 5 or 10 minutes before them to get ready to change my physical, psychological and emotional state so I'm on before I'm even on. And that makes a huge difference.
That was performance coach Andrew May. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Forvis Mazars. To find out more, visit forvismazars.com/au. That's FORVISMAZARS.com/au.